Coming out. It's going to be a good program today. I'm so excited to see everybody here. We're going to start off with a welcome from one of our church members here at Wesley United Methodist Church, Mr. Gerald Mackey. Will come up and do the welcome, and we'll follow that with a prayer, I guess, by Sister Easton LaRoche.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Gerald Mackey, and on behalf of our pastor, Elnora Ellington, I bring you greetings from this church body and from her. She asked me to convey her regrets. She was intending to be here, but she had a death in the family. Her brother died, and she is in Norfolk, Virginia, preparing for the funeral services on tomorrow. So please keep the Ellington family in your thoughts and your prayers as they grieve the loss of a loved one. We welcome you here, and Dave can take good care of you. Anything that you need, just ask him, and we will be around. Enjoy the facilities and enjoy the presentation that is prepared for you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. You've been properly welcomed and so forth, so right now, I'm going to ask you to please bow your heads and pray along silently with me, okay? Most merciful, all-wise God, Father God, we come this evening, we come in many ways. But Lord, we come united. We come to ask questions, to seek solutions. We come as brothers and sisters of the Sea Islands and other places. Lord, we ask you tonight, as we're about to get into our meetings, Lord, we ask you to please come into this building. Father God, let us be mindful of each other. Let us know, Lord, that as we come, we should come united. No Democrat, no Republican, no blacks, no white, no Hispanic. We're coming as one to seek solutions, to seek answers. Lord, let us know, Jesus, that we all have different opinions. And Lord, let us agree, but not be disagreeable. And Father God, we thank you again for bringing us all here. But we ask you that when we leave with some solid, something that we can go back and feed upon, something that will make life better, the living conditions, the infrastructure, just getting along, the love. Father God, let us leave maybe differently than when we came here. Let us leave with a mind that we're going to work together, and we're going to work together for the betterment of not just Johns Island, Watermelon Island, the Sea Islands, but for the betterment of humanity. This and all of the blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus Christ, holy and righteous name. Amen. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome y'all here tonight. My name is Thomas LaGreat. Give y'all a little history of the concerned citizens of Johns Island. About 14 years ago, Bill Saunders called me and said, we need to get together and talk about some of the issues going on in Johns Island. There's some things that really concern me, and let's start getting some people together. So we started meeting over here at the old church building and bringing up some issues that came up and some different things going on. And we've spent the last 15 years working on issues here on Johns Island. We meet the third Monday of every month right here at this church building. Now, the last 3 months, we haven't met because it seems like Charleston County or the city had meetings about zoning issues or the Dutch dialogues on Monday nights. But we meet the third Monday of every month. We meet at 6:30. We're promptly out of here at 8 o'clock. Tonight will probably be a little later, but we have some refreshments here. And so we'll probably be a little later tonight getting out of here. But put it on your calendars. We'd love to see all y'all back here again. Some months, it's just a handful of us meeting here and having some good fellowship. Some months we have some crowds like this. I would like Bill to say a few words, but I don't know if he wants to or not.
Good afternoon. This is one of the things that I'm most afraid of, is being handicapped. And I fought so much not to be handicapped. So I have stopped going out for anywhere. And finally, an assistant that I come to this, Mackie, so he got me here, he owes me. And Abe came to the house to make sure that I come. And it's good to see so many people here. And I was just sitting here and going back to our church, our original church, which we had about 50, 60 people, and how we were able to build this and the lady sort of picked it up. There's a lot of stuff, and some of the stuff we did here that was against the law. To register people to vote, it was against the law to teach black people how to register to vote, and that's what we did. And we so mad at the people about that. And started running an election and those kinds of stuff. And it's different from school board and everything. So it's good to be here. I'm very uncomfortable. Here you laugh at me. But I'm very uncomfortable being here with Gerald and some of the folks that I've been all my life. Good to be here. Just look at Western Church, all that move back there, and those, you know. So I'm good to be here, and I intend to be here from Sunday going on until the Lord lets me back behind him. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, thank you for being here with us tonight. It's been one of the, if we haven't gotten anything accomplished on John's Island, we've gotten to know each other, and that's been one of the pleasures of my life, and I appreciate all you've done for us. Abe, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce the speakers. About a month ago, Dr. Phil Dustin called me and asked me, he said he wanted to make a presentation about flooding again. I said, well, let's do it in August Concerned Citizens meeting. We got a great facility to hold this. I think y'all celebrated your 150th anniversary yesterday.
In October, we're celebrating every month.
Well, those ribs and barbecue you had yesterday looked pretty good. Mr. Abe Jenkins is here. Abe's father, Bill, both of them grew up here in the Charleston area, and Bill's father, Esau Jenkins, started Progressive Club, and the Progressive Club is one of the sponsors tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Abe and let him tell and then introduce the next person.
Thank you, Thomas. And one of the things I do want to mention while we're in here is that Thomas Degree and Bill Saunders are two totally opposite types of people. One is white and one is black. One is a conservative Republican, one is a liberal Democrat. But they saw fit to bring people together to resolve issues that happen on these sea islands. And we all can find some common good in everything that we do in life. And those guys had the vision that they could bring people together despite their differences economically, racial, all of that stuff, that we could come together on issues that are concerned for the people that live on these sea islands. And I just want to thank you, Thomas and Bill, for what you've done. This is a result of that. But tonight we're here to talk about flooding, right? Anybody concerned about flooding? Yeah, okay, that's why we're here. So I think our next person to speak is going to be Rich Thomas, and Rich is going to come and talk about whatever he's going to talk about.
I'll try not to bore you. I'm Rich Thomas. I live here on Johns Island. I've been here for 11 years. I moved here and realized just what a special place Johns Island is. And I became very concerned about a lot of things going on here, and I still am. And so I got kind of involved in various issues, and this being the most recent one. Just to kind of set the stage for this, I'm on the St. John's Water Company board with Thomas and Cheryl and Linda and I don't know who else is here. But we heard about a request for 300 and some water taps right up the road here. And none of us knew what that was about. We hadn't heard anything. So we looked into it. And it turned out there was a big development being planned. There was a big development being planned called Oakville. And what they want to do is fill in a couple hundred acres of very low land up there, cut down all the trees, bring in fill and build these houses. And that started concerning a bunch of us, and it turned out Dr. Phil Dustin will be speaking. We live right next door to this thing. So he and I got together and some other folks, and so we started looking at this flooding issue, like building in these low-lying areas. And that kind of brings us here today. This was almost 2 years ago, September 2017. So here we are, and it's great to see so many other people who are interested and concerned about these same issues. Thomas mentioned Dutch Dialogues meeting that was about a month ago, I guess. And I don't know, how many of you have heard of the Dutch Dialogues? Okay, quite a few. Just to recap it, the city spent a couple $100,000 or more on having some Dutch engineers and planners and American engineers and planners come and take a look at the Charleston area and look at several aspects related to water. And the Dutch are very good with water because a good part of their country is actually below sea level. So they've been living with water for hundreds of years. So they're sharing their expertise in that regard with Charleston. And Johns Island is one of their study areas here. At this meeting on July 15th, I was particularly moved by opening comments from a guy called David Wagner. He's a planner and designer from New Orleans. And New Orleans knows a little bit about water too, having been underwater several times. He works for this company that believes that designing for resilience requires living with water and building with nature. So let's think about that, living on a sea island, living with water and building with nature. So he made 4 points, and I jotted them down, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase here. One of his points, he said simply, solve problems. Now, I'm an engineer, and when I look at solving a problem, my reaction was that the easiest, fastest, and cheapest way to solve a problem was not to create it to begin with. Right? You don't create a problem, you don't have to spend time and money solving it. Engineers are kind of simple in that regard, so, looking at things kind of simply. But creating problems to be dealt with later seems to be a major element of our current civic processes. In particular here on Johns Island, even with the potential problems are clearly perceivable and largely avoidable, again, to a simple engineer. He also made another point. He urged us to beware of compromise that costs nature. And again, we see this compromise happening almost daily in the greater Charleston area, whether by roads or power lines or housing or commercial developments. All these things enable more destruction of what makes our home special. Those are fundamental compromises that cost nature. To many of us, nature is one of the most valuable resources we have here, which also includes buffers that can protect us from maybe the less pleasant aspects of nature, like hurricanes and floods and storms. But our trees, our undeveloped areas help us do that. And the Dutch made that very clear in their presentations. Another point he made was that we cannot lose things that are valuable. So if we value nature and its peace and serenity in our daily lives, and we're losing them at a rapid rate with a headlong rush to accommodate more and more development, vehicles, growth, and profit making. Even more valuable, since once nature is gone, it can't be replaced. The first message I noted, the first one of 4 that he made, and I think the one that makes the most sense as we work our way through these challenges, was do something special. I've been thinking, what might special be? Save a grand tree? To save the nature that we are blessed with here? To fight what we believe is the best way forward? To advocate in the political realm? To write letters to the paper? To vote? Some or all of these things, or others we can imagine or achieve alone or together. But whatever we each choose to do in this regard, please do something special as best you can. The choices that we make, and I think they need to be very bold, special choices at this critical time, as he said, are ours to make. All of you here, and being here tonight, you're making a very good choice. We must also rely on our elected representatives to establish what is special for us, and I see a number of them here tonight. I'm very thankful for that. And given that the Dutch Dialogues process has contributed considerable, valuable information to the deliberations that we are all going to go through, we citizens can continue our contributions to the political dialogues. And one hopes that our elected public servants, employees, can heed these simple yet powerful principles that Mr. Wagner shared with us. And I hope they've made an impression on you too. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna Zimmerman. I'm a mom first, a flood victim, a flood advocate, and I'm here today. My goals today are just to give you kind of some housekeeping things of what are going on. First, if we find anything, we already have found one cell phone. It will be at the welcome table at the beginning. The bathrooms are in the middle of the hallway. And I do want to thank the Progressive Club for hosting this, as well as this church and other people. And I do want to mention that Higher Ground and the Environmental Defense Fund have also funded all of the refreshments that will be available for you tonight. And up here we have our preacher teacher that you can have a picture with in the lobby. I think he represents, or she represents, the face of flooding. There is not one face of flooding. All of us could be behind that mask at any time. In solidarity with the City of Charleston and our flooding efforts, Harriet Festing, who's the director of Higher Ground, the National Flood Organization for Survivors, helps survivors in Louisiana, Houston, Puerto Rico, all over. During this meeting, we'll be posting this picture of the dinosaur on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and asking people throughout the United States and Puerto Rico to change their Facebook profile picture to our creature feature in solidarity with flood victims and people that are concerned about flooding here in Charleston for 24 hours. Okay, the last thing that I want to do is give you I'm a teacher, so I like to tell people what to do. Sometimes I'm also a mom, so that comes into play too. We have 3 tasks that are assigned to you tonight. The first task is to make sure that you enter our raffle. We have all of these wonderful prizes that we will draw right after Phil's short discussion tonight. And so if you have not entered the raffle, we will be passing around hats. Rich has them, we can start passing them around right now. If everybody could enter the raffle, one entry per person, we'll pass around the raffle box, except if you're a kid. If you're a kid, enter 3 times, okay? So, and Phil, that does not include you, to enter that many times. Okay, so that's your first task, is to enter the raffle. Your second task is at the end of Phil's presentation, we have something special, and that special thing Phil's going to instruct you to do, and we ask you to please do that. And I'm not going to steal the thunder on that. So you have to do a special thing, and Phil will tell you what that is. The third thing, and why we are making this very short tonight, is the reason that we're here is a meet and greet, meet your neighbors, introduce yourself to the people sitting next to you, and mingle, have a good time. We also have a room with food, which will be right over here, and we have tables that we have designated that politicians can stay at if you would like to speak to some of our local politicians who are here, and we thank several of you for coming today. So that's it. Enter the raffle, the hats are coming around, and make sure you do that because you really want to enter this. And I do see some kids over there, so get them to enter multiple times.
Thank you. I'm really excited to see all of you here tonight. This is great. Sort of exceeds expectations, I think, would be the checkbox. 5 stars for all of you. I'm going to give a brief talk tonight. I want to try to outline the problem and some of the potential solutions and where we go from here. And if we can have the first slide. So we're going to talk about just an update on flooding. And we'll have the next slide. So here's Johns Island. Can we have the lights down? Is it possible to turn them on? Okay. So Johns Island happens to be the 4th largest island on the east coast of America. And we all know it. I've just highlighted it here in green because it's a very lush, verdant island. And this is one view of it that we probably all know, and this is from Google Earth. The next slide, however, is a special view. This is what we call a LiDAR image. And our projector is sort of gone wonky every once in a while. But what LiDAR is it's a device that you fly in an airplane, or now you can put in a satellite, but fly in an airplane, and it gives you elevation. So it gives you the topography of the island. So the red that you see here, this red is high ground, and the yellows here are lower areas, and then here's the river. This is the Stono River, and coming to Bohicket Creek, this is Wadmalaw Sound. This is Wadmalaw Island and Johns Island. They have a series of parallel dunes, and I will refer to these as the airport dune, because the airport is here, and Maybank Highway dune. And the next slide will show you why. In this particular image, the people that settled Johns Island were pretty smart. What they did was they built Maybank Highway along the highest ridge there was. And that's where they lived. And then Bohicket Road comes down this way and crosses and comes down along the edge of this dune and then down here. The airport's built on high ground. So we have these 2 higher areas where people built their houses and their businesses, and they farmed in the lowland areas. In these areas here, they farmed in these areas. Can we have the next slide? So this happens to be that same image. This is the city's property. This is the urban growth boundary, and all of this within here, a large part of this is the city of Charleston. And this image was produced in 2003. In 2005, I was on the growth management committee that was meeting to talk about Johns Island and authored the Johns Island Community Plan. And I brought this image in and I said, look what's happening. We're building on the high grounds, and we have some lower areas that are unbuilt. And you can imagine if we started building in those lower areas and we had a hurricane, the water would come up Bohicket Creek and the storm surge would come up the Stono River, and this area would fill with water just like happened in Katrina. And in the room, Josh Martin, Christopher Morgan, we're head of planning, and his assistant said, whoa, no developments below 15 feet elevation. Can we have the next slide, please? And so the city of Charleston has been planning on Johns Island for a number of years. They started annexations in '83, There was an update to that first plan in 95, the growth management plan in 2007, the greenways plan in 2008, Charleston Green Plan Century. Next slide, please. 36 years of planning. And if you look at all of these, not one of them talks about flood. The community plan talks a little bit about elevation, but flooding is a relatively new thing. And we used to be worried more about storms than we were about floods. And the work that we did in the Charleston Harbor project in the 90s, we were worried about how development was going to destroy the water quality. We weren't worried about how flooding from a development was going to destroy our home. So if we go next slide. So the recommendations that came out of the Johns Island Community Plan, and the guiding principles were: 1, respond and respect the environment. And 2, environmental factors will be of primary importance in planning decisions and development recommendations. Okay, this is in the Johns Island Community Plan. So, 1, don't build on developments on land lower than 15 feet. No developments. Low elevation land more appropriate for agriculture and forestry. Maybe 1 house per 10 acres, 1 house per 2 acres. Okay? Protect the tree canopies. They're very important to the island. And preserve the place known as Johns Island. This sense of place comes back to us over and over and over. Preserve the place we know as Johns Island. Next slide, please. So, these are Johns Island building permits since 2010. Okay, speaks for itself. Next slide. I came back and moved off the island in 2009, came back in 2017, and was blown away by the development I saw. And all of these lighter areas in here are developments. All of this white area are clear developments and over here. And what I realized was it's been a free-for-all. And I had left Johns Island, moved to Daniel Island. I'd left thinking, well, the community plan is in place and people are going to pay attention to that. When I came back and saw this, Rich told you the story about my own personal travail down in here, which is off over here. Can we have the next slide, please? So we have become, Johns Island has become the poster child for bad development practice. This is Governing Magazine. This was August 2018. Everybody knows it's a bad idea to build new development on flood-prone land, so why do we keep doing it? Next slide. News 21, which is the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, a bunch of kids came out, and they have been looking this summer at a whole program called State of Emergency. These are college students working with Pulitzer Prize winning journalists. They came out and they picked Charleston for flooding and San Diego for fires. And this just came out. Can we go back? I'm sorry. Go back. Developments in probably big bucks for builders, but can leave communities at risk. You can look this up. News 21. It just came out. It was out for about 5 hours, and it had already had 85 shares. Next slide. So this is a little bit of a confusing slide. Oh, go back. Back. No. One more. Go back there. This slide. Maybank Highway is in purple, and the airport dune here is in purple, and this yellow are developments that have been built in lower-lying areas since 1995. So basically, the side of this area has been built out, or is being built out as we speak right now. And you can see the other side of Maybank Highway as well. So we've taken forest and we've turned it into development. A parking lot that will shed 27,000 gallons of water in 1 inch of rain. So if you have a 1 inch rain, 27,000 gallons of water runs off the parking lot. If that were a forest, a 1 acre forest will shed 500 gallons. Developments are much more like parking lots than forests. And this is the prime physics behind what's driving a lot of the flooding that we see. Next slide, please. So, again, I apologize for the colors, but you get the idea. Now we want to build another 300 or 400 homes out here in a place called Oakville, and now it's called River Run. And you can imagine this area here outlines the watershed that we call Burton Creek Basin. These little blue lines show the path of water, how it would trickle down from high into low-lying areas, and it would form this creek. It's actually an ephemeral river, much like the Wando River, but smaller. So wouldn't it be a good idea to put a cork at the end of it and push all the water over onto the people's houses that are already here? As a matter of fact, if we backed it up enough, it would back over here onto developments here. We also want to build another 460 houses out here on the Rawl property. Now, this outer dune is actually a barrier It's a storm barrier, and you'll see when I get to the Dutch dialogues why that's so important. Next slide, please. So the other added benefit to this is we know we have to preserve all the grand trees. So the builders preserve the grand trees, but because the land gets filled higher than those trees, they have to put the trees in wells. And most oaks and most large trees are surface feeders, so the roots get smashed under hundreds of pounds or hundreds of tons of fill dirt, and then these little wells fill with water and the trees drown. So what happens is a process that I call death by preservation. And when the trees die, the builder comes along and rip out the trees, they fill in the land, and build another house. So it's a very convenient way to actually get more land to build more houses on and still abide by all the current rules we have for preservation of trees. Next slide. So these are the observed facts that we have to realize are going on. As climate has been changing, we have increased rainfall intensities. We used to think of 1 inch storm, and 1 inch of rain in an hour was a big storm. Now we get 2 or 3 inches almost all the time. The other day we got a couple inches of rain. 2.5 inches of rain is not a big deal anymore. I mean, it's a lot of water, but it's still 54,000 gallons of water coming out that parking lot. But the storms are also wetter and they're stronger, and the hurricanes we're getting are stronger and wetter and more slow moving. So we have to worry about not only the storm surge from hurricanes, we have to worry about the water that's being produced in rain by those hurricanes, as the people in Houston found out. We're also getting higher tides from increase in sea level. We're also getting increased sea level is increasing faster in the southeastern Bight area because the Gulf Stream is slowing down. And as the Gulf Stream slows down, it doesn't pull as much water offshore. We're all kinds of nonlinear things that scientists are learning about. And we're getting this widespread flooding from developments. So these are facts, and they're pushing this area to a crisis. Okay? So, next slide, please. So if you were to fill in the low-lying areas, these are areas, this purple in the Burton Creek Basin are areas that are about 10 feet or lower. And this is the kind of area that's vulnerable to flooding. So, let's build a couple of developments here, and we'll put a few more over here, and we'll put one up in here, which was just permitted, we'll build a few more down here. So you can imagine the disaster we're setting up. We're setting up problems that we're going to have to solve. As Rich said, why should you have a problem, just don't start it in the first place, so you don't have to fix it, okay? So this gives you sort of an idea of what's happening. Next slide, please. So the Dutch came, Mayor invited the Dutch, and I think it was really great. Winslow Hasty is here tonight, had a large role in that. And this is a group of people that call themselves the Dutch Dialogues, not because they're all Dutch, but because the Dutch look at a problem and talk about it and study it first. Whereas we tend to cause problems and then have to try to figure out how to solve them. They try to look at it from the other way around, which is a really nice idea, I think. And their guiding principles are human safety has the highest priority. Number 1, build with nature, respect the force of water, and capitalize on natural storm protection. Okay? Next slide, please. So they looked at Johns Island from 3 perspectives. The sand ridges that are old Pleistocene dunes, they're 100,000 years old, they're very stable, they're not going to wash away. The forest canopy and the quality of the soils. Next slide, please. They also show the cross-section, where we have Maybank Highway, which is the highest dune, and then we have the airport dune, which is a little lower, and then we have Kiowa and Seabrook, the Sea Islands. So, and we have this area in between that we call the Burton Creek Basin. So they sort of looked at that, and they looked at the underlying geology of it as well. Next slide. And they came up with this idea of Maybank to marsh. If Maybank is a high ground, it makes sense to build on the high ground. But those developments are going to cause runoff going into the lower areas. So that lower area that's forested, that's lower, that's wet, that's got soils that evolved to absorb water, should be left as natural as possible. And in talking with Dale Morris the other day, he was telling me that, so you should really want to keep about 50% of your forest canopy at a minimum. And we're regularly allowing developments to essentially mow down everything except a few grand trees and fill it in with impervious soil and plant sod. Basically makes a 100% impervious system. So, the Dutch Dialogues preliminary, when they came out with their preliminary things, they said, 1, you want to protect people's lives and property. No housing developments in low-lying areas. No slab-on-grade housing in low areas. Higher elevation developments create runoff, and the lowland forests provide water storage. Okay? So, next slide, please. So that, wasn't even talking about hurricanes. Now this is a Category 3 hurricane striking Johns Island. This is the slosh model that does not include rainwater. And what we're seeing here is there are one piece of high ground by the airport and Maybank Highway up by the airport as well. Keep people out of harm means we need storm shelters on the island. We need a storm shelter where the Berkeley Electric Co-op is about to leave. That's the highest land on Johns Island. There'll be 4, 5, 6 acres there. There could be a community center and a hardened building. And people might say, well, we can't have a storm shelter on this island because the Red Cross won't allow us to have one south of 17 or something like that, east of 17. The fact of the matter is there are people that are not going to leave this island, there are people that are unable to leave this island, and there are people that are in need of storm shelters. So we need that, okay? We need that more, all or less. All of this creates, if you have the next slide, all of this creates sort of a set of really core demands of what we need. We need to ban this idea of fill and build developments. City Council's meeting tomorrow night. This could happen tomorrow night. Gee, you know, this isn't rocket science. This could be done immediately. And Mike Seeking is shaking his head and saying, oh, no, no, no. This can happen immediately. We could say, no more of this craziness, okay? We need to revisit these old building permits. There are people holding permits that have had PUDs permitted for hundreds of houses that have been sitting on them for 10 years. We have new knowledge now. That's like going to the doctor and saying, well, yeah, you need a heart operation. Yeah, we perfected one 10 years ago. It worked really well. Let's use that. You said, well, isn't there something a little more modern? You know, didn't they just do something with Mick Jagger's heart that worked a little better? Okay, so we need to revisit. We need to do science to figure this out. We need to get people out of harm's way. We have people now living in developments that are going to flood. We have developments that have been built below base flood elevation and sanctioned by the city of Charleston. And these areas flood, they've repeatedly flooded, and they need to be helped, okay? And we need to build storm shelters. We really do. Now, to get this ball rolling, we have started a new Facebook page called Low Country Flooded States of America. And we will put all the news that we get about flooding up on that Facebook page, okay? And we have something also that we have concocted. We can have the next slide. Nope. Yeah. We, the people of the Low Country, in order to live a safer and more sustainable life, demand that the government stop allowing building projects in low-lying areas that flood our homes, destroy our sense of place. Thus far, our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated developments that violate the Johns Island Community Plan, the City of Charleston Century 5 Plan, and the findings of the Dutch Dialogue, which all recognize the fragility of our environment, the power of water, and the vulnerability of the Low Country. All of Charleston is historically rich. All of Charleston is threatened by water, and it's time for local, state, and federal governments to exercise their duty to protect the lives and property of its citizens. And we have here the declaration right here, and we invite you all to sign it. We also have, for your entertainment, we have postcards with the declaration printed on them. We welcome you to sign these. If you want to sign them and leave them with us, we will make sure they go to the elected official you would like to send them to, or you can take this and spread this around, all right? This declaration will also be in a place where people can sign it electronically as soon as we get it posted. But we wanted to bring it out tonight. We feel that we need to keep this ball rolling. We need to keep people pushing our government to do the right thing. It's no sense, there's no more reason for the governments to allow developers, the corporate offices in Tokyo and Singapore and New York and Denver and Atlanta to walk away with the profits and stick us with the problems. And that's what's been happening for the last 20 years. All right? So, we're going to close this out. Abe's going to close it out. Where's Abe? You know, Mike? And then we're going to let you guys mingle, and if you'd like, we'll sit here with a short question and answer if you'd like to do that as well. But we also have Tonight we have maps in the front. You want to look at these maps? We've got them in the front. We've got food. We've got the raffles. We've got petitions. And most of all, they'll mingle. We've got a bunch of elected officials here. We even have some state representatives here. So, Dave, thank you.
Thank you. Let's give Phil a hand. So, I won't be long. I just want to leave you with three things. Three things before we mingle and do our thing today. Number one is we all need to stay involved and stay engaged in this community. We need to be concerned about flooding, how it impacts our lives, our quality of life here on the islands. So we want you to please stay engaged and stay involved. Number two, maybe it should be number one, we have to vote. We have to go out and vote. This is an election year, and we need to talk to these candidates, talk to these folks, and if they're not doing the right thing, we need to vote them out. But we got to use the power that and the third thing is, this has been a good meeting, and we don't want to just make this a meeting where somebody says it was a good meeting, or yeah, I liked the meeting, I didn't like the meeting. Let's make this a movement. Let's make this a movement, and we stay involved in this, that we push everybody to make our lives fulfilling here on this island, that we don't stop, we don't forget about it next week. We make this a movement, and we stay involved, and we push until we get the right answers. Can I get an amen? Amen. So what we're going to do now is we're all going to mingle and fellowship with one another. I'd like to, Phil, are you going to do questions now, or you want to wait?
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Phil? I see a hand up in the back.
Dave, can I just ask one question? How many people here live in the city as opposed to the county?
How many live in the city as opposed to the county?
That's not a fair question, because even though we're in the county, we're affected by,
Yeah, it's a fair question just because I don't see any people affected by the cities.
all of us are affected by the city.
So what we're going to do now is we have a room right across the hall. And I'd like to ask our elected officials, Winslow with the Historical Charleston Foundation, Heather Hodges with the Gullah Geechee Corridor, all the candidates running for office, if you will go to that room across the hall to my left, your right, and where the food is, go to the room where the food is. And then we will all get together and mingle, and that way you guys can answer any questions, talk about what you plan on doing about our flooding situation, infrastructure, whatever it is. But you get a chance to mingle and talk to the public out here. If you wouldn't mind doing that, Representative Brown, you too. You are
It's against me, but my God, you're right.
Oh, Bill Saunders signed you first. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we're going to do the raffles. Oh, I'm sorry. We got a raffle to do. But Maurice and Robert Brown, and if you guys can make your way over there, that way you can meet the people as they come in. Well, so, you know about Dutch God. What's going on over here? Harry White, Mike Seekings, Maurice Washington, and whoever else is here in elected official capacity. But maybe you can go with the International African American Museum. You can go on over there. Anybody else? Any other elected official part of any organization? All right, it's raffle time. Go ahead.
Okay, we're trying to raffle over to the future, which is our kids. So here we have, Hannah's going to be saying the names of Sarah. This is for Hannah, it's Lady Liberty over there. And Cameron is going to be drawing the prizes, and all of the prizes have been donated very generously by Guy here. So we have a lot of them. So Cameron, start drawing. Draw number one.
First up, Vernell Brown. Vernell Brown. All right. Come up and get your prize. Next up is Casey Hall. Casey Hall. There you go. Keep rolling. Thelma Cohen. Oh, okay. Okay. Kate Cherry. Kate Cherry. Sandra Blake. Sandra Blake. Sandra Blake. You're a winner. Oh, here we go. Carl Brady. Carl Brady. Carl Brady. Yes, no. Glenn Robinson. Glenn Robinson. Hey, there he is. All right. There you go. Evelyn Brown. Evelyn Brown. There she is. All right. Excellent. Jenny Welch. Hello, Jenny. Surprise. Karen Simmons. Karen Simmons. Dr. Karen Simmons. There she is. Maurice Washington. He's there in the hall. Go give Maurice a t-shirt. He needs it. He can wear it to the campaign events. Paul Woon. Did I get that right? Woon? There we go. Casey Hall. Casey Hall. Did we have Casey Hall before? Yeah, we had Casey Hall before. Where is Casey? Kate Schaefer. Come on, Kate. There you go. Robert Speciale. Is that right? Speciale?
I can't get one.
David Richardson. David Richardson. No. Walt Miller. There you go. All right. Linda Miller. Linda. Anthony Natoli. Anthony. There we go. Fire Ant Farms. All right. Good vegetables over there. Ellen Waldrop. There you go, Ellen. Stephanie at CharlestonImmigrationLaw.com. That's an interesting name. Is that in your birth certificate? Lorna Beecher. Lorna Beecher. Lorna, there's Lorna. Thomas LeGree. Sam Brownlee. Sam, there you go. How many more? We got a lot more up here. Heather Hodges. Heather just left. All right. Hey, look at this guy. He picked his own. Go over there and get one. That's good. Harriet. I guess we only have one Harriet here. Harriet? We have more than one Harriet here? I know who Harriet is. Linda Sigmund. Linda Sigmund. We have Linda? There she is. Robin and Don Bergen? Robin and Don Bergson, okay. Kind of beat it out there. BJ Rush? BJ Rush? Rush? Van Kraus. Van, there we go. Okay. Bill Jenkins, all right. I know Bill. Steve Green. Steve, there you go. One more. Bill Townsend. All right, well, here we've gone through all the others. Now it's grand prizes time. Sean.
Right here.
Sean. Okay.
Right here.
Sean is like Cher. Everybody knows. Sean. All right, great. One more? That's it. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. Food across the hall. Political candidates and elected officials.